Assalamu alaikum, second year students. Today we will start with the digestive system. The slide you are looking at is depicting the learning objectives, but these are for the entire unit, which means that after we end the discussion of digestive system, you must have no ambiguity regarding these topics. In today's lecture, I will restrict these objectives to only functions and physiologic organization of gut wall mostly, and later we can move on to the rest of them in coming lectures. So let's start. First of all, you should know that what is the process of digestion, and then we will move on to some other basic questions. Well, the digestion, it's a chemical process of treating a substance with heat, enzymes, or a solvent to promote decomposition or extract essential components. Next, common sense question we have is that why do we eat? Well, mainly to maintain homeostasis by continued replacement of nutrients. You all know that food is essential as fuel for an energy source which is required to generate ATP. Then it is also a source of building supplies for not only the renewal of body tissues but also for the addition of tissues which we label as growth. Apart from growth and repair, there are other things also for which we need energy. For example, there are many energy dependent activities taking place inside body, particularly the active transport, contraction of muscles, the ongoing synthesis of new cells and cell parts, then the secretions, and even the energy generating chemical reactions also need energy. Now have a look at this figure. It depicts the role of digestive system for the maintenance of homeostasis by the transfer of nutrients from external to internal environment. Well, did you ever wonder that why do we particularly need a digestive system? It is so because the act of eating alone, it does not automatically make the food molecules available to body cells. For that purpose, food must be digested, biochemically broken down to be absorbed for distribution. And this is how our digestive system it renders 95% food available for body's use. Now the sequence of nutrient acquisition is in the order of ingestion and then digestion followed by absorption and distribution and finally the usage by our body. But how do these nutrients they get in and out of the body? Well, all inputs of nutrition they are through the gastrointestinal tract, while the excretory organs they are not only kidneys and large intestine as you expect. but they also include liver, skin, and lungs even. Now let's move along to our academic goals by preparing you for a university question. Hmm. The primary function of digestive system, that is to serve as a portal whereby nutrients, water, and electrolytes they can be absorbed into body's internal environment. While the homeostatic function of GIT, it consists of ingestion and digestion of food for the energy generation to sustain life. Mm, if we narrow it down to the digestive functions only, then the digestive functions are the secretion of digestive juices, mixing of food with the digestive secretion, also breaking food into small particles and their propulsion through different segments. Finally, there is a absorption of water, salts, vitamins, and products of food digestion. And don't forget the elimination uh, of the wastes, along with the excretion of heavy metals, toxins, and alkaloids, etc. Then there are some other functions also, which are they are linked to our GIT, but they are non-digestive in nature. For example, our digestive system helps in erythropoiesis by secreting intrinsic factor which is required for vitamin B12 absorption. And then there is secretion of certain hormones also. Hmm. To make it simple, the gastrointestinal tract performs four basic digestive processes, which are motility, secretion, digestion, and absorption. Now, motility means the movement. It refers to the muscular contractions that mix and move forward the contents of digestive tract. Now, here, keep in mind that propulsive and the mixing movements they are superimposed on tonic activity of GIT. Now, the question which should rise in your beautiful but little brains is that what is this tonic activity? You see that the tone of GIT, it's a constant low level of contraction in the muscular walls of digestive tract, and nature doesn't offer anything which is useless. So the tone of GIT also has got few benefits, like it is important in maintaining a steady pressure on contents of digestive tract and prevents its walls from remaining permanently stretched following distension. As I already mentioned that one of the digestive processes is secretion. Mm, a number of digestive juices they are secreted into GIT by exocrine glands along the route, each with its own specific secretory product. It is interesting to note that normally the digestive secretions are reabsorbed in one form or another back into the blood after their participation. Humans consume mainly three foodstuff: carbs, proteins, and fats. They are large molecules. They cannot cross the plasma membrane intact to be absorbed. So the digestion breaks down the complex foodstuff within the digestive system. Well, absorption occurs once the digestion is completed. And through this digestive process, nutrients are transferred from the digestive tract lumen into the blood or lymph. Now, if you look at this figure, you can revise through all the digestive processes, which include the ingestion, then the propulsion, then digestion, which can be classified either it is mechanical digestion or chemical digestion, and then again absorption, and finally defecation. You see, ingestion is simply taking the food through the mouth. Propulsion is the movement of food, and it could be through swallowing or peristalsis. And peristalsis is the propulsion by alternate contraction and relaxation. Now here the digestion, it could be mechanical or chemical. The mechanical digestion, that is achieved by chewing and churning in stomach or mixing by the segmentations, while the chemical digestion, that is it's a process in which complex food molecules of carbs, proteins, and lipids, they are broken down into chemical building blocks, into simple sugars, amino acids, and fatty acids, and glycerol, right? And keep in mind that this chemical digestion, that is carried out by enzymes which are secreted by the digestive glands into the lumen of the alimentary canal. And then finally, there is absorption and transport of the digested end products into blood and lymph vessels, which are present in the wall of the alimentary canal. And then finally, defecation and elimination of indigestible substances from body as feces. Here, I'm going to start with your textbook. The first chapter of GI physiology is about the general principles of functions like motility, regulation through nervous and hormonal control, and also blood circulation. Let's now explore the physiologic anatomy of our digestive tract. The gastrointestinal tract is a continuous tube that stretches from mouth to anus. The whole tract is 4.5 meter, or you can say 15 feet in length when it is in its normal contractile state. Now, keep in mind that not only the digestive tract but also the accessory digestive organs, they make up the digestive system. Where the muscular alimentary canal, it consists of mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestine. Now, the accessory digestive organs supply excretions contributing to the breakdown of food. And they include teeth and tongue, salivary glands, gallbladder, liver, and pancreas. We can divide the tract into upper and lower segments. Upper GIT consists of structures that aid in the ingestion and digestion of food. And it includes mouth, esophagus, stomach, and duodenum. While the lower GIT, it consists of small and large intestine. Digestion is completed in small intestine and most nutrients are absorbed, while the large intestine, it serves primarily to absorb water and electrolytes and also for elimination of feces. Although different parts of GIT, they are continuous with one another, but they are considered as separate entities because of the regional modifications, such as the sphincters, which act as guard between different parts of GIT. Let's now divide the topics of this chapter. First, we go with the motility, but for that, you have to know a little physiologic anatomy of gut wall. Well, moving on to wall, the digestive tract wall, it has four layers from inside of the lumen to outside. And these layers are mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, and serosa, which basically is the visceral peritoneum. Well, starting with mucosa, it is the innermost moist epithelial membrane that lines almost entire digestive tract. And then it is subdivided into epithelium, lamina propria, and muscularis mucosae. If I describe uh, the mucosa's histological picture, then the epithelium of mucosa is stratified squamous in mouth, esophagus, and anus, which makes it tough and well suited in these areas. While in the rest of the tract, the epithelium is simple columnar. Then the epithelium secretes enzymes and absorbs nutrients. In addition to that, it has got specialized goblet cells and enteroendocrine cells which secrete mucus onto cell surface and hormones controlling organ function respectively. Next sublayer is the lamina propria, which is a thin layer of loose connective tissue, and it contains blood vessels, capillaries, lymphatic tissue, and lymphoid follicles. Third sublayer is muscularis mucosae, which forms only a thin layer, and it causes folds to form in the mucosal layer, and that's how it increases the local movements, increasing absorption with exposure to new nutrients. If we want to have an overall look on mucosa's functions, we should say that it secretes mucus, digestive enzymes, and hormones. Then it absorbs digestive end products into the blood and also protects against infectious diseases. Let me now give you a brief description of the structure and the components of submucosa, which is regarded as a highly vascular layer. It is composed moderately of dense areolar connective tissue. And then it also contains a part of the submucosal plexus of nerves in addition to glands and lymphatic tissue. Next is our guts muscularis externa, which consists of skeletal and smooth muscle at varying locations. For example, there is a skeletal muscle for voluntary control in mouth, pharynx, upper esophagus, and anus for regulating swallowing and defecation respectively. And then of course there is smooth muscle for involuntary control. Now in this layer of smooth muscles, there are inner circular fibers and outer longitudinal fibers whose combined action mixes, crushes, and propels the food along by peristalsis. Well, as if muscularis externa wasn't important enough already, this muscle layer also contains a part of nerve plexus. Last but not the least, there comes a layer of serosa. It is an example of serous membrane which secretes a slippery fluid. You might know from your anatomy class knowledge that this membrane covers all the organs and the wall of cavities and forms a protective covering. Also, that it consists of connective tissue covered with simple squamous epithelium. Now, guys, our main focus should be the gastrointestinal smooth muscles, where muscle fibers they are 200 to 500 microns in length and 2 to 10 microns in diameter. The interesting bit is that gastrointestinal smooth muscle acts as a syncytium. How? I'll tell you in a while. First, know that smooth muscles are arranged in bundles as parallel fibers. And then they form two layers, the longitudinal muscle layer and the circular muscle layer. Within each bundle, or you can say layer, the muscle fibers they are electrically connected with one another through large number of gap junctions. These gap junctions they allow the electrical signals to travel readily from one fiber to the next. As a result, each muscle layer functions as a syncytium, which means that when an action potential is elicited anywhere within the muscle mass, it generally travels in all directions in the muscle. Now, the question is that what is the function of syncytium? You see that it allows coordinated contraction of muscles along their entire length. While the function of the syncytial smooth muscle in intestine that is mainly housekeeping by producing two types of contractions. First, there are tonic contractions to maintain the organ dimension against an imposed load such as the bolus of food. And then there are forceful contractions, which produce muscle shortening to propel the food bolus along the tract. I assume that it should be enough for now, and next time we will start with the electrical activity of the gastrointestinal smooth muscle.